We are turning now to the very latest from the state capitol. Our political reporters Alex Kenlin and Caroline Derby are joining us to give their big takeaways from this session. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks, Katrin.
It's been the dream team here covering everything online and on air. You've been seeing it for months now as we've been talking about
Feels
this.
like a lifetime almost.
Yeah, but we're getting to the point where we are wrapping up. So first of all, when we're saying that they're going into recess, we don't mean they're going out and playing dodgeball.
No, well, they may be,
as far as we know.
but probably not. They're probably tired. If I was a member of the legislature, I probably woke up this morning and went back to bed.
Fair.
The last week has been very busy, but they'll be back in 2 weeks for adjournment. So this is a time, in case anything has to be tweaked on or redone, they'll still have time to do that before they formally adjourn.
Okay. Something that we've talked about extensively really before this legislative session began, but it was a huge talking point during this session, were PBMs. So walk us through the very latest on that, because I know it was on the governor's desk for a number of days, but she did finally sign that into law.
Yeah, let's talk about what a PBM is. Is a pharmacy benefit manager, and that's an organization that's hired by an insurance company to negotiate medicine prices. And all well and good, but last July, the Federal Trade Commission came out with a report that said PBMs are having a negative impact on drug prices.
Yeah.
So the governor signed yesterday a bill that would no longer allow PBMs to own pharmacies. We're the first state in the country to do this. Although Attorney General Griffin recently signed a letter with 38 other attorneys general to ask the federal government to make the same law.
Okay.
But CVS says CVS, which is also a PBM, said it's going to close 23 pharmacies as a result of this.
So obviously something that's incredibly impactful from this legislative session.
But on the other side of that, we have local pharmacies who, most of them are calling this a win. You know, we've seen some local pharmacy closures, and part of that, as they say, is due to PBMs owning pharmacies. They feel like they can't compete with those kind of prices, and then also just not making enough profit is what we've heard from several people to stick around in some of those areas. And we're talking like your mom and pop type of pharmacies. We've seen some closures in East Arkansas that they are saying come from these PBMs owning pharmacies. So this bill does have some impact to CVS. They're closing 23 pharmacies, some mom and pop locations. Not really sure what the future of those who have already looked like or have already closed looks like exactly, but it's definitely going to shake some things up, I think.
And these so-called mom and pops, as we leave this topic, let's point out some of them are in rural areas. They close, and people now need to drive an hour for medication, that sort of thing.
Okay, so a huge impact to across the entirety of the state, really. And we mentioned that had been on the governor's desk for a number of days, and then she signed it. Is there anything else right now that's still on her desk waiting to be signed or recently signed?
There were, just before I came on, she signed 101 bills today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were busy.
So I picture our governor with her hand being iced down right now. But well, in fact, I'll have to talk about a lot of this tomorrow. We know a couple bills that were in line to be signed on, and I haven't had a chance to check if these were part of it, was placing a limit on what educational freedom account dollars can be spent on.
Yeah.
There was some concern going into this session that people were taking their, we'll call it voucher funds, and spending it frivolously. So this actually put some lines in the sand. But on the other hand, educational freedom accounts are now open to everybody for this coming school year.
Okay. So I want to get to the prison bill, the prison funding bill, because we've talked about this extensively, and Caroline especially. This had a number of votes that failed. There was a lot of talk about both those in support and in opposition. So where does this leave us, and could you give us a wrap up on what would this have done?
Right, and there are so many twists and turns in this Franklin County prison debate is what I'm kind of calling it now. There was an appropriation bill that would have allocated about $750 million to use for prison construction. construction. Didn't make it out of the Senate, had to pass a certain threshold. There was a bipartisan effort to stop it essentially in the Senate, but with these types of bills, they can be brought back time and time and time again. So it failed failed 5 times in the Senate. And I talked to State Senator Bart Hester. He said this is not over though. They already have $75 million allocated that they can use right now through the Department of Corrections to start construction on the prison itself. They're using that actively right now, whether it's through getting an architect, an engineer. He mentioned maybe even doing some dirt related work, getting the land ready for the prison. But where that bill stands now, while it did fail in the Senate 5 times, he is expecting it to be brought back in the fiscal session, and we'll see kind of where it goes from there. But that bipartisan effort stopped the bill itself from allocating that funding, but it's not over.
Well, and here's one of the reasons it's not over. We don't have enough room for everybody that needs to be in jail. And that's jail. That's not just including the prison, but we have state prisoners being held in county jails, which means that some of the lesser offenders that should be in county jails are being set out in their own recognizance. And the line, you've heard me say it before, head of the Sheriff's Association said to me, the misdemeanor justice system is failing in this state.
Yeah, so certainly a story that will continue. Of course, we'll continue to bring you the latest as that gets brought up maybe again in the fiscal session, like we said. A lot has happened this session. You can see all of it online. I know also there were some vetoes by the governor that they'll have to go online and check out. But Caroline, Alex, thank you for your work these past couple weeks. You've been amazing.
Well, thank you, Katrin.
Of course.
Always happy to be here.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Go check it out online, and we've got the very latest, of course, coming up continuously. Well, new today.